GetDownToBusiness.com. With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you could always download podcasts from Get Down to Business and get a sneak peek of who is going to be on this show next week on my website at shalomklein.com. While you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information that you will not want to miss. It's a live show. You could call us at 312-642-5600. 312-642-5600. This week, we've got a jam-packed lineup of guests. We've got guests Gary Patterson, the Fiscal Doctor, who's going to be joining us in just a moment. And I'll be sharing some comments on some IT security threats at the end of the program. So don't touch that dial, Chicago. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We're powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them at tandemhr.com or give them a call, 630-928-0510. Give them a call or check out their website for lots of tips, advice, and information. So first up on the program, I've got Gary Patterson, who is the Fiscal Doctor. He has an MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business. He's the author of Stick Out Your Balance Sheet and Cough, Best Practices for Long-Term Business Health. Gary, welcome to Get Down to Business. Thanks for joining us.
Well, looking forward to helping some of your clients today. I love to help small business and business of all sizes.
Well, you've worked with a lot of companies, from startups to Fortune 500 companies, and certainly you've provided a high-level strategic guidance and expertise. So let's jump right into it. Have you seen a common theme between businesses that are successful, and follow-up to that would be a common theme to businesses that don't make it and are not successful?
Well, I listened to some of the shows, and I've got a three-top issue, which I'll relate to it. I'll do an overview, and then we'll dig deeper wherever you want. I loved the $500 coffee yesterday, so I'm going to suggest for your listeners that the other version of that is what I call the 175-pound gorilla issue, meaning you should do something about it. It's something you should be able to see it. If you couldn't see it, you've got to look. And when your people tell you about it, you've got to address it. The second one, I'm going to suggest that for most small and even up to about $30 to $50 million companies, after you grow larger, no one wants to do a good enough job on a 6-month visibility on cash. I'm not saying 6 months cash in the bank. I'm saying to know where your cash is, what's happening, and to get insight on how it changes your business. And the third, and it across from really entrepreneurs to whom revenue is a strange idea, to larger companies, and for nonprofits even, because I know you do both. When you get to a certain size, and it's not that large, you've got to start putting a little more money into getting better and more accurate financial information.
So, Gary, one of the
any you like.
Gary, one of the topics that I know you've become an expert on is how to prevent bad things from happening to good companies. And so often entrepreneurs have such a fantastic idea, and perhaps they even have the passion to spread the word about that idea, but then they don't make it. What went wrong? Why do bad things happen to good companies?
I'm going to go back to point number 2, and because I've helped a lot of companies on this, and so people get they spend money they don't have, or they spend money that they shouldn't spend. And here's why. When someone, small, medium size, when you look at this and say, where is my visibility on cash? I have cash today, I'll sell things, and then cash will show up later, I'll spend things. When I get people to do a 6-month visibility on cash, they get a lot of insights on their business. One person I got to do this came back, and 2 years later says, Gary, that's the difference. What he found the very first time he did it, the second quarter, he realized this guy he basically was in your general space. It was media. He did ads for people. In the summertime, he found out you spend money from, all summer long to get the next business for next year, and no money comes in on these things. So if you don't squirrel away money on these things in April and May, you won't make it until September or October. And even though he was brilliant, even though the technology was there, until he started saving that 6 months, knowing he had enough runway to get there, it was too easy for him to go out and spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 and wish he had it later. So that was a key in this case, that good things continued to happen to a good company. That's the success story.
That's great. We're chatting with Gary Patterson. You brand yourself as the Fiscal Doctor, and clearly now our listeners understand why you are the Fiscal Doctor. Clearly, you're a strong advocate for you are a CPA after all, and you are a strong advocate for monitoring your balance sheet and monitoring expenses. But Gary, is there ever a point that people might go overboard where they might miss out on a good opportunity because they're not willing to take risk, and because they're so focused at analyzing their balance sheet, analyzing their P&L statements, and they won't take the opportunities that are being handed to them?
I think you're talking about it comes around about every 2 or 3 years, paralysis by analysis, some version. I mean, if you never took any risk, the story would be you just shouldn't even show up in the morning. Don't go down there and open the door and let anybody come in, because if a customer comes in and they slip and fall or something happens, bad things could happen. To carry it to the extreme. You don't do anything, you'll never make a mistake, but you'll go out of business real quick. So, yes, I agree. You've got to have a balance, and that's why I go back to it. The reason you have to know about where you are on cash. When you look at the cash and you have visibility on cash, you also know, hey, I can make that $5,000 or $10,000 investment because I've prepared for it. Now let me go out and spend it. And I know I can spend it. I can be comfortable I can spend it. It's easier to take a risk when you know your financial resources. And for small companies, and that's a lot of your listeners, it appears cash is king. Cash is emperor, I should say.
And Gary, the same logic holds true, I believe, for big companies as well. They're also monitoring their cash situation, and before a large Fortune 500 company decides to acquire a new business, they're also taking those exact same steps. Obviously, there's a difference between a small business where a few $100s might literally break the bank or not, but as opposed to a larger company where the zeros at the end are many times that. But Gary Patterson, you've got a lot of information to share. So we're quickly running out of time, but I want to see if we could squeeze you for just a little bit more tips and advice. What is the one thing that you think a small business owner should be doing, aside for analyzing their financial statements, when they go to the office tomorrow morning? What is the one thing that they can do that potentially will be a game changer in their small business operations?
Right now, take a minute and say, what is the one issue I should do and I don't want to do? Been putting it off for the longest time, the 175-pound gorilla, because you don't like to do it, but know you should. Do that one thing tomorrow morning, and it's going to be different for everybody on this call.
That's great. That's fantastic. And we all know, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we all know that there is that thing that exists that we've been pushing off. And as I tell people that I speak to all the time, it never gets any easier tomorrow. So, but in this case, it is Sunday evening. Tomorrow morning, you can jump in and you can make an impact. So, Gary Patterson, the Fiscal Doctor, you've written a lot on a number of subjects, and we want to make sure our listeners have the opportunity to find your books, find out some more about the topics like how to prevent bad things from happening to good companies, and about, again, analyzing financial statements, reporting, and cash is king, as you said. So, Gary, where can people learn more about your speaking and your writing?
If they go to fiscaldoctor.com, fiscaldoctor.com, the information is there, and there is a free ebook that I think they're going to like, which is a chapter from Stick Out Your Balance Sheet called the 5 areas where risk can lurk, the 5 most common mistakes to avoid when you're growing your business.
Once again, Gary Patterson, you can find out more about him and download a free copy of that ebook at fiscaldoctor.com, fiscaldoctor.com. And Gary, we appreciate you joining us on the program, and we'll be sure to check back in with you for more tips, advice, and information. After all, you are listening to Get Down to Business, the show that's all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And coming up after the break, I've got Chef Laura Frankel, who's going to tell us a little bit about what it means to wine and dine in business. Once again, you're listening to Get Down to Business, the show that's all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You could get on my website, shalomklein.com. That's where you could download podcasts from this program and find out who's going to be on next week. Don't touch that dial, Chicago. We've got a lot more tips, advice, and information. We're powered by Tandem HR. Check them out, tandemhr.com. We'll be right back.
Stuck